boundaries with your adult children because they're adults. Some of the situations I've seen is that they feel as though they're adults, so the rules should not be the same, or um, you know, they have a different view of being in their parents' house. Um, so I guess how would one incorporate still boundaries and appropriate boundaries for adult children that's in the house?
I think that that is a great question. So I'm gonna throw that out there. That is an amazing question because that is a very important piece. Boundaries, right? Um, there are different types of boundaries in a family system. So let's start there. You know, family systems might have enmeshed boundaries. That is when it's really hard to tell one individual in the system from the other. They're typically commingled. Um, what this might look like in a family is that they're very, very close. Not close, very, very close. You might see this as a parent in the bathroom with the door open and other family members going to the bathroom and leaving the door open. You know, they're enmeshed. They're all up in each other's business, right? It's hard to tell where one starts and the other one ends, right? And then you also can have rigid boundaries. And with rigid boundaries, it's very closed off. You'll have a lot of authoritative um, parental figures have very rigid boundaries, and so you have those two extremes. Now, a part of differentiation is creating new boundaries. If you have enmeshed boundaries, it's time to make the boundaries a little bit more rigid. It's important for you to be able to figure out where the child that is now an adult or the teenager, where they start and where you end. It's important to have open dialogue. Okay, you're about to be 18. Are you going to be staying here? Are you not going to be staying here? Oh, okay, so you're taking a gap year. You're going to be staying here. What is that going to look like? What are your boundaries? And yes, yes, people, I said it, asking them what their boundaries are because whether you ask them or not, they have expectations. They have expectations, and it's valid because they're human beings. So asking them, what are your boundaries? You know, and not being offended when they are different than the boundaries that you've always had. And then also saying, okay, I understand, I validate those boundaries, whatever they may be. And then saying, here's mine, here are my boundaries as well. And it turns it into a working relationship versus everything that I say goes and you don't get to have a voice, you know, in the home or whatever the case may be. It allows the teenager or, you know, adult to feel as though they have a say within reason. Setting boundaries around the car. If you know, if you're the only one that has a car in the house and the teenager or grown up doesn't have a car, setting boundaries around the car is going to be really important. Setting boundaries around when they come in the house, you know, is very important. A lot of my clients, they talk to me and they say, you know, well, we argue, we argue all the time because I say that I want one thing to happen, they say that they want something else to happen, and so then we're butting heads. And so then I ask my clients, and if any of them actually join the live, they they'll testify. I ask my clients, whose house is it? Whose house is it? And I wait for them to answer. And then typically they say, "Well, it's my house." I said, "Well, is it?" Because now it's a question. Whose house is it? Because you can't dictate what they do, but you can dictate Mo's house. You can't dictate what they do, but you can dictate what you allow. And that's the thing that you have to know the difference between. No, you cannot control anybody else's actions, but you can put boundaries around what you will allow. Hey, if you want to stay out until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, that's up to you. You're an adult. Stay out 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, but my house closes at 10. Boundaries. You're not controlling them, you're allowing them autonomy, but you're putting boundaries around your home, boundaries around your space. Your adult that's living with you, which is the topic for anyone that's listening, parenting adult children or adults that still live at home. And they might have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and now they want these people to come over and possibly spend the night. How uncomfortable is that, right? But you have to figure out how to make space. What is the boundary around that? Can they have guests over, but only downstairs? Can they have guests over in their room, but the guests can't spend a night? Like, what is the boundary? It's not about whether or not they can have a boyfriend or girlfriend. They're not 10 years old anymore, right? That's not what we're trying to put limitations around. But we are putting limitations around our space and what is comfortable for the system. So I see that we do have another listener, Drew. Feel free to press that call button. I would love to know your opinions on parenting adult individuals that are still living at home, or if you are an adult that still lives at home, I would love to hear your point of view on that as well. So feel free to go ahead and press that call button, Drew. So Mo, did that answer your question around boundaries?
Oh yes, that was great because it's Mo's house. Okay, it's Mo's house.
I hear you. I hear you all
I'm
day
gonna
long.
scream that all day today. It's Mo's house. That's what I'm gonna say. It's Mo's house. Um, while Drew is deciding to come up, another thing I see with some of my patients is issues when it comes to finances with adult children
Mm.
and their parents. And one parent may feel, well, they're adult, they should be they should be helping with the bills. And another parent may be like, well, they can save. I mean, they're here, they're not married. So what are your thoughts about that?
I think that that's a good point that you brought to the table, Mo, because I see a lot of conflict with couples as it relates to this. I actually, have some clients where um, one of them maybe believe exactly what you said. They should be able to stay at home, save, not contribute to the household, whatever the case may be, and then there's the other individual, right, who is like, nope, if they're here they need to be paying something, doing something, 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 something. And so it causes a lot of conflict. um and so it's really important for the parental system to get on the same page before the individual turns 18, preferably, because that's proactive versus reactive. Have that conversation. All right, Junior's turning 18 in a couple months. What we doing? Are we letting them stay here, or are we going to contribute to him being able to leave. You know, what are we doing? Where do we stand? Because if you don't stand as a united front, then you're making room for triangulation, and you're making room for any weaknesses to be manipulated. And that just means that whenever that adult is not getting their way from one of the parents, they're just going to run to the other parents and cause conflict between the two parents. That's somewhere where the parental system definitely has to get on the same page. It's absolutely important, because any weaknesses, any disagreement in that is shown outwardly is going to be exploited. 100% is going to be exploited. And so I can't tell clients where they should lie. Oh, well, this is why you should have them pay, or this is why, you shouldn't. But what I would tell a parental system or a couple that's coming in with that topic is to get on the same page and have a conversation, using interpersonal effectiveness skills, where we're not hitting below the belt. We're not turning it into a conversation where we're arguing and fighting with each other about personal traits. We're keeping the topic, and we're also knowing when to walk away from the conversation and having that conversation as many times as necessary to come to a united decision on the matter. So I also see that Dave has joined in as a listener. Dave, if you are interested, definitely feel free to tap that call button. The topic today is parenting adults that still live at home. If you have any thoughts on that, I would love to hear them. Mo, I invited you to be a speaker. That way, individuals can still call in and they won't have to wait. So just go ahead and accept that so you can become one of the speakers. Um, this also opens up the door to generational gaps too, because you'll have a parent living in a home. You'll have an adult living in the home that maybe just transitioned into adulthood, and sometimes you might even have that parent taking care of their parent, and so then you end up with three generations in one home, which can be quite an interesting mix. Mo, what do you think about that? Have you ever gone through anything similar to that?
Oh, I wish you would stay out my business. So I have my daughter is 16, and my grandmother lives with me, who is 80.
Oh wow.
And yeah, oh wow. And so it's my grandmother and it's her great grandma, and they both act like Bonnie and Clyde. And or I should say Thelma and Louise rather. And I could say one thing and my grandmother is supporting the other thing. And so it has been a difficult ride um between me and my grandmother and my daughter. So, that's her first, she the first great grand, she the first grandchild. It's just, it's a journey. That's what I'll say. It's a journey.
So how do you typically address those things when you try to put your foot down about something and grandma says, "Oh no, no, not my grandbaby
Well,
or
she
great
really doesn't.
grand."
She really doesn't say, "Oh no." She said, "Mm-hmm," and she give you the sweet little smile. And she doesn't disagrees with you. She agrees with you, but later you find out that um that the rules were still broken and grandma participated in breaking the rules.
Oh, whoa. Okay, so you get blindsided is what what I'm hearing. Um
That's why I said they are Thelma and Louise.
So it's a more passive approach. It's not, I'm going toe to toe with you. It's kind of, oh, okay, I hear you, honey, and then they just go ahead and do what they're going to do anyway. So once you find out that the rules have been broken, what is your typical approach?
To confront both of them. Um, have a talk with my daughter. Give her some consequences. However, um, due to my schedule,
Mm-hmm.
the consequences, I'm not always home to see that everything is followed through.
Okay. So give me an example, if you have one on deck, of a time where rules were broken. Let me know what you said to your grandmother. Let me know what you said to your daughter, and what the consequences were.
Um, hmm, let's, what can I say? Okay, Layla can't drive right now because um, Layla didn't complete her chores. She didn't complete what she was supposed to do this week. And then I find out, oh, well, she just told me she was going to the store to pick up something. And then when I get home, where's Layla? Oh, she went to Beechwood Mall just to grab something. So, oh, okay. All right. Um, so that didn't enforce the rule. And then, well, Layla, you wasn't supposed to go nowhere. I know, but Grandma said, and I just had to get this done, and blah 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 blah. And so then there's more consequences. But yet, it'll fall through for a second, and then I find something else is going on when I'm not home. So it's like beating a dead horse. So sometimes I have to do something, as in when it comes to my daughter, she's like very girly. She loves the hair, she loves the nails and the things like that. Then I can't support you financially in those things because you're not listening.
Okay.
So
So that consequence works a little bit better, sounds like, because um it doesn't mess with the time restraints that you have. Like you're like, hey, well, you ain't getting your hair done then. Since you can't listen, you're not getting your hair done, so you're taking something away, um as a consequence, is what it sounds like.
yes, but I still need some ideas with that because my daughter is artsy, and
What does that
she'll
mean?
find a
Art?
way.
What does that mean,
She's
artsy?
what can I say? I don't say she is. What's the word? Is it? She'll make a way out of no way. She'll get her hair done. Somebody will come and do her hair. She's
Oh,
finding out different ways to make sure she still get what she needs.
okay.
So, I'm proud of her in a way because I'll say she resourceful. She's making her own way, but yet, it defeats my purpose. So
Right,
I don't.
right. In all honesty, if you were in my office, I would more or less tell you to have a conversation with your grandmother. Um, I know that that might seem a little out of order. Oh, well, this is my daughter, so obviously I'm going to talk to her and I'm going to consequence her and things of that nature. However, even though you and your grandmother are not a couple, essentially in the home you are a parental system. And right now it's very lopsided because one person is not, one parent essentially is not respecting the other parent in the system, and it's causing for exploitation to occur. And so the conversation that's going to actually be helpful is the one that you have with your grandmother. What conversation have you had with her?
I done had several. I've even had her children get involved and say something, and it's like she'll follow through for a second, and then it's back to doing what grandma wants to do.
What did okay? So help me out here. What do you actually say to her? Because I think that's the part that we have not gotten to yet.
Grandma, these rules are in place, so she knows that she has to follow rules. Um, Grandma, if you keep undermining what I'm saying, this makes it difficult for me as a parent. Grandma, I don't know what else to say. I can't. I don't know what else to say. You know.
So this is where
Um,
the interpersonal effectiveness comes in.
mhm.
So first off, I just want to take a second to say anybody that's watching from Facebook and YouTube, I want to say, hey, thank you so much for tuning in. Drop a comment. Let me know you're there. I can't see you from where I am. I'm actually filming this episode live. So drop a comment. Let me know that you're there. So back to you, Mo. Here's the thing, interpersonal effectiveness is going to be key here. And there are different types of interpersonal effectiveness. And I'm going to actually pull them up so that you can hear them. And so I know that, and this is another place where generational gaps are evident because you're like, that's my grandma. You can't be modeling off the grandma. That's a true thing. You're always taught, respect your elders, and this conversation is not to be disrespectful, but you do have to understand whose house is it.
Mo's
All
house.
right, whose house is it?
Mo's house.
All right. So with that being said, we have to take on a new role. Yes, we are a granddaughter, but we are also the head of the house, and we can't be more a granddaughter than we are the head of the house. So there's boundaries that need to be put up with grandma as well as the 16-year-old. So one interpersonal effectiveness skill is called Dear Man, and I like this one. It is describe the situation objectively. Let others know how a situation makes you feel by clearly expressing your feelings. Um, don't beat around the bush. No, well, yeah, maybe, could you maybe, no. This is a more direct approach. It's a more assertive approach. Dear man is for individuals who have a hard time getting their point across and are not confident when they are getting their points across. And so this is very helpful for that. Reinforce, reward people who respond well. Reward can look like thank you so much for listening. Thank you for applying. What it is that asking you to do, and be mindful. Don't forget the objective of the interaction. That's going to be super important, and that's where it's don't start talking about boundaries and then end up talking about McDonald's. That's not no, let's not digress. Stay on topic. And then it's appear confident. Your posture, your tone, eye contact, body language, all of that stuff is really important. You know, you are a granddaughter, you're not a grandchild. And that's very important to differentiate because when you're around your grandma, and I don't know about you, but I know when I'm around my grandma, I feel like a grandchild sometimes, as old as I am. So it's important to understand you are a granddaughter, you're not a grandchild. And so you can have a posture of assertiveness, not aggression, that's different, but assertiveness so that you're getting your point across. And then there is negotiate. You're not asking for the moon and expecting her to bring you back the moon. You know, there is room to negotiate, but negotiate doesn't mean give in. Negotiate doesn't mean not get what you need from the conversation. That's not what negotiate means. It means coming to a compromise. I think that it's also important to bring up, hey, grandma, I know that you and you probably won't use this language because you're not a therapist, right? But I use it because this is just how I talk now, apparently. Grandma, I noticed that you are being kind of passive and kind of avoiding. You nod and agree with me, when I'm talking to you about things, but then next thing I know, you're doing the opposite. Why aren't you coming to me? Why aren't you telling me? Why, are you forgetting? Like, what is going on? Are we having a different problem? Do we need to be talking about something else? What is it? What's happening? You know, and so it is. It's really important. So dear man, I think would be a really great tool for you in talking to your grandmother. And so I know you said, what might that look like? So we're going to do a quick role play. Obviously, oh, and also if you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Call In, wherever you are listening right now, I am taking questions. Okay. So feel free. Yes, I'm having conversation, but I am taking questions. The topic is parenting adults that still live at home, which also goes into having multiple generations at home. So we were also talking about generational gaps, um, and which might look like having a teenager yourself, and then also having a parent or a grandparent living in the home. Um, so Mo, we're going to do, and Drew and Dave. I didn't forget about the two of you. Feel free to press that call in button. Mo, if you wouldn't mind, I would love to do a role play. I'm gonna be grandma, and you gonna be
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Okay, so in this scenario, right? I said I agree with you, right? And then I let great grand drive anyway. You came back home, you found out I let her go to the mall. Now what?
Grandma, grandma.
Yes, baby.
I told you she could not drive. She could not go to the mall. How did she end up at the mall?
Well, she really needed to go to the mall and you weren't here. Who else was gonna take her?
Grandma, I'm tired of having this conversation with you. I need you to not let Layla take your car.
What you want me to do then, baby?
Not allow her to take your keys. Tell her no.
Oh no, I can't tell her. No, that's the great grand right there. And she needed to do something important.
My hands are in the air. I'm throwing up my hands now.
All right, so with that being said, okay, we are going to see. I would not, this would be the time where I would love to take comments, right? On the role play. What did you think was effective? What did you think was ineffective? I would love to hear some comments about the role play, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, whether you're here and call in with us. um what was effective? Crickets. All right, so one thing that I can say was effective, right, was that you were very direct. Grandma, I need you not to let her do this. However, grandma's asking, what would you like me to do instead? What is the alternative that you would prefer? It's one of those things where you want me to take something away, but you're not telling me what you want me to put in its place. So, Mo, help me out. What do you want to go in this place? We can't subtract something without adding something.
She needs to call her mom before she leaves the house, or to ask and to go anywhere, or to take your keys.
Okay. So
I need
so
some communication.
some communication. So it's not just I need you not to give her your keys. It is, hey, if she comes to you, what I need from you is to redirect her to me. Redirect her to me, because there has to be an action, an alternative action, unless grandma's gonna be stuck. It's, oh well, I'm not supposed to give her the keys, but I don't know what else I'm supposed to do instead. So give her the keys. You know what I'm saying? It's like there has to be something else. So come at it again. Tell me the alternative. All right, baby. Well, what else would you? What else am I supposed to do?
I need you. If Layla comes to you, I need you to call me. Have her call me and put the phone on speaker so I can give directives.
See, that's clear. See, good job. Good job.
Thank
That's great.
thank you. Thank
It's clear now. It's not just I need you not to do something, but I'm not telling you what I need you to do. And by the way, these are I statements. I need from you when. Okay? That's an I statement. So if you didn't know, now you know. That's what we've been speaking in this entire time. I need, so it's not blaming. It is saying, I feel or I need from you. And it allows the person to be able to give to you without necessarily feeling offended or feeling the need to become defensive. So it's called a gentle startup. So, with that being said, okay, I need you to have her call first. What happens if that's not done? Mo, what happens?
What happens? Nothing happens if that's not done. I fuss at Layla, and then Layla have a consequence. It's the same cycle as I told you before. She'll have a consequence, um, and that's it.
So basically, what is the incentive for grandma to come alongside you?
Well, there is no insensitive. I feel like at this point, Grandma knows what she's doing. She's being rebellious. She's 80 years old. She had two kids. She had me. You know what I'm saying? We didn't get away with none of this stuff. And she not slow. She know what I'm saying. Um, I just feel as though I can't put my grandma out. Well, I
Mm-hmm.
could, but I would never do that.
Right, right, of course.
So at this point, honestly, I have at times I'm just overwhelmed and I don't have the energy.
Well, the incentive could be empathy, right? Incentives
Hmm.
don't always have to be tangible, right? I'm not telling you to consequence your grandma and put her out on the street because she let the she let the girl take the keys. I'm not telling you, please, no one do that and say that I said do it. I never said that. Um,
I'm gonna
I,
put her out this weekend. I'm gonna
like,
say,
hey, I was listening to Supportive Advice Live, and she said,
you
um,
got to go Friday by 6
um, you,
p.m.
you know, and just for those that are listening, in case you are not aware, I am a licensed therapist. By the way, licensed marriage and family therapist. So, Just feel free to comment, ask questions, what have you, agree, disagree. All viewpoints are welcome. So, an incentive, again, it doesn't have to be tangible. It can be, empathy. Okay. Now you said that she's raised you. She raised, her kids. Have you ever talked to her from that perspective and asked her what it would feel like if someone was living with her, maybe her mother or her grandmother, and they didn't allow her to parent or they undermined her authority in the home? Have you ever asked her what she would do or how she would feel if that happened?
No, I never asked her how she would feel. But we call ourselves having a whole intervention group.
What?
Her kids came over here and talked to her about it. And when I tell you, I never asked her, but even her kids came over here and talked to her, and she'll enforce it for a few days, and then after that, it's back to the drawing board. But I will ask her. I will ask her this week, um, how she feel.
Because that's important. It's definitely important to ask that question. How would you feel if it were you? You know, imagine trying to raise your two kids, or even trying to raise me if I was in the house, and then your grandmother comes in or your mother comes in and completely undermines your authority. How would you feel? Ask the question because it's valid. It's absolutely valid. That's where the empathy comes in.
That's good.
That will allow her to connect in a way that she probably hasn't connected to it, right? Because she probably, and I'm not saying she doesn't, I don't know the situation, but maybe she doesn't know how it feels for that to happen. Better yet, maybe she does. Either way, you get that buy-in from her. Either way, you get the buy-in. But I'm curious. I'm not gonna just let this fly on by. I'm really curious about the children intervention. Um, Talk to me about that. What was that all about?
My aunt agrees with me.
Mm,
She said, it's not fair to me, um, and it's not helping. It's not helping my daughter become an individual who she can lack respect for authority. It's not helping her see that you still need to abide by rules, but she knows she's going to get away with things. So like, I don't know. My aunt told her. My aunt cracked down on her. She was quiet for a minute. She stayed intact probably more than a few days than what she usually do. I say we add. She had added an additional 2 more days, maybe a whole 5 days, where she was together, and then after that, you know,
so your aunt came to the house because I'm digging into this thing just in case you weren't aware. So your aunt came to the house. I take it that you were talking to your aunt about some tensions you were having with your grandma, right?
correct,
Okay, and so the aunt came to the house, and so this is actually a form of triangulation. Okay, so there was tension between. So I'm glad that we brought this up because there was tension between the grandmother and the head of the household, right? And so whenever there's tension, what the system wants to do is ease the tension by bringing in another party. And so that's where you get triangulation. Um, and so with that being said, the aunt became triangulated. Um, Mo probably talked to the aunt about what was going on. I said, "Oh no, no, I don't agree with that." And so then she comes temporarily into the system to try to balance things out. As a therapist, people try, I won't say people, clients, especially couples, try to triangulate me very often. It's really important if you find yourself in that situation to be objective and to make sure that you are redirecting all of that back, to the actual two individuals that are experiencing the tension. um so Monicia, your aunt came over, and did she say those exact things to your grandmother? Did she sit her down? How did the conversation actually go?
She spoke to all of us. Well, basically to me and my grandmother, and she shared with her like, you know, if she not supposed to be driving, then enforce the rules. And then she also spoke to the fact that, Layla need to be held more accountable too because she's participating. She's she not innocent, and she know the rules too. And basically she was quiet the whole time, and that was it. She listened and she said I know, and then she was quiet.
Okay. So, I want to be clear. Saying that a conversation needs to be had with grandma, it doesn't mean that there's no consequence, right? For the teenager. But what I am saying is that because there is a cycle going on. Hey Charles, I see you on there. He just put a comment on. Thank you so much for the love. I appreciate you. Remember, anybody who wants to comment, feel free, comment, ask questions, what have you. Don't be afraid to talk. I will ask you something, and so there's that. But don't be, but don't be afraid to call in. Um, but what I was saying is that there is a consequence that is needed for the teenager. However, when there is this pattern, there is an intervention that needs to be put in place to stop the pattern. And so the consequence for the teen is not stopping the pattern, because here's where the circle goes. The, the teen does something, right? Or no, here, I'll go back even further. Mom set a boundary, right? The boundary was broken. Mom sets a consequence for the teen. Mom tells the teen, mom tells the grandparent, and then mom has to go to work. Mom's not present. The grandparent disregards the consequence, lets the teen do whatever the teen is going to do, and then we're back around in a circle. And then the teen gets in trouble again. There's a new consequence. The consequence is not actually carried out. It just keeps going in a circle. So it doesn't mean you shouldn't, that she shouldn't have consequences. But what it means is, if it's not going to be enforced, there has to be another place in the system where we can intervene to stop the pattern. And so where we intervene to stop the pattern is with the grandmother, not the daughter. And so that's what I'm saying. Having the conversation with the grandmother and trying to get grandmom to buy in. You know, hey, this is what's happening. You know, and like I heard Mo say, grandma's going through a phase of rebellion, which is not uncommon. It's not uncommon, because if you are used to being the matriarch, right, and you're used to being the head of the household, and you're used to making the rules, and then you are in a place where now you are living with a granddaughter, right? There is going to be some rebellion there because that's not the role that you're used to playing. And so it makes the system very uneven. And whenever there is unevenness in the system, everybody is kind of moving and stretching to achieve homeostasis. But homeostasis might look like grandma being the matriarch because that's what she's done for X amount of years. And so putting her into a new system where she's not the matriarch is going to be is going to be a very difficult task. And so it has to be done very delicately, but it has to be consistent. And one thing that I heard Mo say is, I'm tired. I'm tired. And though I understand I'm tired because we all get tired. Oh, Lord, we all get tired. However, it's in the consistency that we begin to change the pattern. It's in the consistency. It's in having that continued conversation. It is, oh, if this is not creating buy in, let's try something else. If this isn't creating buy in, let's try something else. But it has to be something consistent because if it's not consistent, then at the end of the day, the negative pattern is just going to continue to be reinforced. It's just going to continue to be reinforced. And is your grandma there now? Oh, did you leave the speaker? Lord. Well, you done left the speaker thing. Okay, let me see. All right. Is your grandmother there now?
Hear
Mo?
me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Is your grandmother there now?
Um, well,
Uh oh. I'm losing you. I'm losing you. Now,
I just
uh oh. I'm losing you. Um, so typically, okay, so I'm just gonna see if I
the
can mute.
house.
I'm probably gonna just have to mute you for now, just because. Um,
Yeah, but
so typically, what I would suggest a lot of
I
times
just
is
left.
is having the two parties actually come into session, and actually having an open dialogue in session about the pattern and what's going on, and actually having the conversation out in the open. And a lot of times in this type of situation, I would use constructive confrontation, which is a strategic tool. And the reason why I would do this is because based off of how the grandma is described, there's a passiveness where it's like, okay, I'm going to say that everything is okay when everything is not okay. Or if I don't agree with you, I'm going to pretend like that I do agree with you, and then I'm going to do what I'm going to do um, anyway. So, constructive confrontation pushes that. It applies pressure to the system. It doesn't allow the person to go along to get along. It doesn't allow passivity because I'm pushing. I'm actively pushing. If you say, "Oh, well, it's okay," then X, Y, and Z. Oh, really? If that's okay, then why is X, Y? It's asking those questions and it's being assertive. And so essentially, what that typically will do is cause whatever that front is to break down, and then that person will actually come out with how they really feel. That anger, which is a primary emotion, makes way for me to tap into the secondary emotions that are attached to it. and then we can really have a conversation. We can really open some doors there. But in this scenario, Mo said that she just left the house, so I can't bring grandma in right now. But I wanted to thank everyone who joined the call. I wanted to thank everyone who's listening. Everyone who did join the call, subscribe. We have these calls every Thursday at 6 o'clock p.m. On call in. I'm also live on YouTube. I'm also live on Facebook. Soon I'm gonna be live on TikTok, and so we're just gonna keep the party rolling. This typically lasts for an hour. I am a licensed therapist, and for this hour, I do give out free advice, free. Just saying. So feel free to comment. Feel free to call in. Again, if you were listening today, please subscribe. To the podcast. Podcast is called Supportive Advice Live. It's also on Google Podcasts. It is on Apple Podcasts, and it's on Spotify podcasts as well. And so we have all of those avenues. Please feel free to reach out. And again, subscribe and make sure you have your notifications on so that you can be notified when I'm doing the next episode. And be ready to talk. Be ready to talk. So I thank everyone. Renita, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate you. I see that you're watching. And please, Renita, join the call next week, Thursday at 6 o'clock. Make sure you subscribe to the page, Supportive Advice, if you're watching via Facebook. Subscribe so you can get notifications of when we're posting and when we're going live on YouTube. It is Aquila Wheatley LMFT. Go to go to YouTube, subscribe, hit that notification bell. That way, you will know when I am posting, and you'll also know when we're going live. And on call in, make sure that you subscribe as well. And I will see you all next week. Thank you, Drew. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Mo. Thank you, everybody watching on Facebook. Thank you, everybody watching on YouTube Live. I appreciate all of you. Share, 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 share. Get the word out there. This podcast is offering again free advice from a licensed therapist. So get that word out there. Friends, family, followers, all that good stuff. Share, share, share. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. And I'll see you all next week. Thank you so much. And you guys all have a great day.